keep walking.
I can't go back.
You will, because that's the only way.
See, that's what he tells us. That there's no choice, no way but his way. Thug swoops in with a baseball bat and a smile, and we're all so scared that we gave up everything.
This is it. This is the only way.
Hey guys, Kiwi here. Today I wanted to discuss the newest episode of The Walking Dead, episode 703, The Cell. Spoilers for this episode ahead, but without further delay, let's jump right into it. So, this episode starts with a montage of Dwight at the Sanctuary in his everyday life. For those who are unaware, the Sanctuary is the main community and home base of Negan and his gang, the Saviors. We start to get a feel for the place and the vibes there as Dwight goes throughout his day. This reminds me of a parallel to the scene last episode that showed us the kingdom. Here, however, things are definitely less bright and cheery. Dwight is shown doing casual everyday activities and hobbies, such as watching Who's the Boss on TV, playing an air hockey drinking game, or chiseling a chess piece. As he's making a sandwich for himself, he witnesses someone who's actually trying to trade supplies getting upset. This guy takes his shirt off and throws it at the vendor, then proceeds to get beat up for acting out of line. The montage shows Dwight acquiring all the ingredients for his sandwich, again showing more of the inner workings of the Sanctuary. We finally get to see the short scene where everyone in the farm kneels to Negan as he walks by. The montage ends as it brings us to Dwight eating his snack while he watches the prisoners reinforce the outer wall to the Sanctuary, which is shown in one of the previews for the episode. Dwight then makes a second sandwich, this time with dog food in it, as it is intended for the most important prisoner of all, Daryl. We actually see Daryl completely naked and dirty in the corner of a cell as he accepts this gross dog food sandwich from Dwight. The sandwich was used as a storytelling device. It shows us that Dwight is a big deal to the community and that he has power to thrive in this world. Daryl, on the other hand, has nothing and his living conditions are completely horrid. We can really compare where Daryl is right now to where he could possibly be if he fell in line like Dwight does. Part of Daryl feels like he deserves to be in that cell, after what he did and what it caused. He isn't speaking out, he isn't being the rowdy Daryl we all know and love. He's just letting everything happen, and honestly, thank God, because if he was still acting out after what his last outburst caused, it would have actually really annoyed me. And I mean, he does still act out at some point by not completely falling in line, but at least he didn't lash out again and punch him in the face or something like that. Speaking of Daryl, we get a close-up of him crying alone in his cell, along with various other cuts of him getting more food and getting his prisoner jumpsuit. The jumpsuit has the letter A on it, which has appeared in the show several times. At Terminus, the group was imprisoned in Railroad Car A, and Sam also used an A stamp in Alexandria. So Dwight brings Daryl to the doctor to check on his gun wound, and runs into Sherry, his ex-wife. She was there because she thought she might have been pregnant, and we'll get more into why later, but right now, all I'll say is that it's obvious that she feels great shame in this moment, and that this is how their lives have turned out. Dwight gives a snarky comment back to the negative test results saying, "Oh well, maybe next time." And she tries interacting with Daryl twice, I believe, but gets cut off both times by Dwight telling her not to talk to him. On the way back, they run into Negan and he asks to speak with Dwight for a moment. This is another great scene of them kneeling to Negan out of respect. Daryl gets watched at gunpoint while they speak, and then gets taken out to the outer wall of the walkers that we saw earlier. Here, Dwight tells Daryl a really interesting line as they watch the prisoners continue to reinforce the wall.
That's you, asshole. Unless you're smart, your choice. You could be like them, or me, or them.
He's implying that Daryl could either continue being a low-life prisoner like them, become a henchman for Negan like him, or end up dying and becoming one of the zombies in the Wall of Defense. This quote comes into play later in the episode, but we'll get back to that. It's all his choice on how he acts and if he chooses to accept the fate he's being forced into. This ties into the following conversation between Dwight and Daryl, where he tells him that he won't ever kneel. Dwight says that he was the same once as well, and that Daryl doesn't understand what he went through that made him kneel. This scene was also a part of the preview, and at this point, I was looking more and more forward to the rest of the episode as we have already seen a lot of things from the sneak peeks, leaving me wondering what they've been keeping secret for the rest of this episode. The next conversation between Negan and Dwight is pure gold. Once again, Jeffrey Dean Morgan pulls off his character, and I honestly really enjoyed the tone he has taken with his persona. Negan tells Dwight that since he's done such a good job helping break Daryl, that he could have a blast from the past with you-know-who. Dwight just gives him a stone-cold look as Negan continues, telling him that he can have whatever girl he wants as long as they say yes. This conversation is completely filled with minor foreshadowing. First we have them talking about you-know-who, which is obviously Sherry, but we'll get more into that in a little bit as well. And then there's the implication of Negan not allowing rape whatsoever, as he's offering up one of his girls to Dwight as long as they're okay with it. Dwight still gives him the stone cold look, leading Negan to poke fun at his injury from last season as Eugene bit his dick.
Oh, crap. Are you okay down there? Your penis? I mean, that guy, he clumped on it. Or is it down for the count?
This was a funny throwback to that moment, and it made me laugh, even though this entire scene made me feel sorry for Dwight. Negan continues to pick on Dwight in a friendly way, asking him if he's alright considering he just turned down a free pass to the pussy bar, as he calls it. Dwight is completely whipped by Negan at this point, and this is a prime example of what Daryl could become if he follows in line with Negan's rules while having his tail between his legs. Dwight insists that he enjoys doing grunt work for Negan even when he doesn't have to, trying to prove his loyalty and worth. And Negan even tells him good boy, once again implying that Dwight is just a dog along with everyone else working for him. This all ties in with setting up the reason why Dwight goes out on a mission this episode. Most of us knew that he was gonna go somewhere, we just didn't know exactly why. He makes his way to the highway overpass on a motorcycle as he witnesses the aftermath of many zombies falling off of the highway onto the road below. A zombie then drops on him and starts to attack him. This puts him in quite the pickle as he pulls out his gun to save himself. And honestly, I was expecting the zombie that falls on Dwight to be a result of Jesus, as that's what happens in the comics, but we actually do not see Jesus at all this episode, so I have no idea what the point of that even was and why they implemented it. Like, it's cool that they implemented it because it was from the comics, but if Jesus isn't the reason why it happened, then there's literally no point to it in my opinion, and the teaser just showed that scene and they just put that scene in there for us to speculate. I'm still hoping that Jesus will somehow tail someone to the sanctuary at some point. I know that's really vague, but maybe it'll happen at the end of the next episode. I don't know, we'll have to see. He then catches up to his target and tackles him, although he was already being attacked by a walker. His target turns out to be a member of the Saviors that he knew, who had gone rogue and ran away from Negan in the sanctuary. His name is Gordon, and his wife's name is Maria. Throughout his conversation with Dwight, we get little clues as to how they met Negan and what's vaguely happened to them since. First, I wondered if Maria would turn out to be like Sherry and if we would get to see her, but Dwight comes right out and calls her dead. Gordon initially is practically begging Dwight to kill him, as he doesn't want to go back, but eventually gives up and caves into Dwight's orders. Dwight, realizing that Gordon is defiant beyond repair, shoots him in the back anyways. He knew that Gordon had just given him his true thoughts, and nothing Negan could do would have changed that. Even if Negan could have broken Gordon more, he wouldn't have even really been worth it. Dwight was even once friends with the guy, so he knew what he had to do as one of Negan's right-hand men. Everyone knew they were going to try and redeem Dwight this episode, but have they done it the right way? I honestly hate Dwight a lot more in the show than I ever did in the comics, so I feel like they really needed to show us Dwight in a way that will truly make us understand him, the situation he's been put in, along with why he acts the way he does. Episode 3 is really a continuation of how Negan is controlling all of his people and everyone around him, including Dwight. It is a chance for the audience to see what his life has become since we saw him last season, as he has been through a lot himself. Life inside the sanctuary and what it entails definitely has a dark spin to it, as it gives an uncomfortable vibe all around. As Dwight has gone out on his run, the overweight savior that Negan made fun of to Dwight previously takes his job feeding Daryl his sandwich. The savior actually doesn't leave Daryl's cell door locked, and Daryl tries to escape. I sort of rolled my eyes at this as I didn't see anything positive coming from it, and it seemed like a waste of time. Some fans predicted that Daryl may have had some sort of failed escape attempt, making fun of it and comparing it to Slabtown. Although the basic concept is similar, I believe that this escape has a completely different meaning than Beth escaping the hospital. Slabtown was pretty much just Beth escaping, but this sequence shows Daryl's current mindset and his overall perspective of the place, which I'll be getting into in a later video. Anyways, Daryl gets caught by Sherry, who continues to warn him of worse things to come if he gets in trouble. He clearly listens to her and hears her out, but he continues anyways. Daryl then immediately gets caught by a group of saviors while trying to take one of the motorcycles. Negan walks in with Lucille whistling as Daryl is surrounded, and then he quotes himself from the season 6 finale.
Oh, we ain't pissing our pants yet.
Negan explains that this was all a setup for Daryl to try and prove that he could make the smart move and not try to escape. Sherry even warns him and he continues to flee. Once again, I will be doing a completely separate breakdown video going more into Negan's mind games and how this scene actually has something to do with some crazy foreshadowing from the comics. This is where that previous quote of Dwight giving Daryl those 3 options comes back into play. Negan breaks it down quite clearly, all while toying with Daryl. The moment when Negan pretends to hit Daryl with the bat definitely made me raise my eyebrows the way the show creators intended.
Screw it. Wow. You don't scare easy. I love that.
That was an intense lead up, and I always enjoy Negan's monologues whenever he is on screen. This concludes with Daryl being beat up the same way that the savior in the beginning of the episode was for falling out of line as Negan walks away while whistling once again. In one of the final scenes of the episode, Sherry comes to talk to Daryl through the door of his prison cell. She references the episode 605 from last year and how she met Daryl in the woods. She recounts the back and forth between them in the burnt forest as they were robbing him and taking all of his stuff. She told him she was sorry, to which he replied, "You're gonna be." Well, Sherry lets him know that he was right and she is in fact sorry. She just isn't sorry in the same way that Daryl originally intended her to be. He obviously imagined getting some sort of glamorous revenge on her and Dwight, but instead gets pitied by Sherry. At the end of the episode, Dwight meets Sherry for a smoke in the stairwell. Dwight asks her if Negan is good to her, to which she replies yes. He tells her that they did the right thing, still believing that the fate they chose is better than the alternative. He meets Daryl with a sandwich once again, this time telling him that he should be dead and that he killed Glenn. He gives Daryl the Polaroid of Glenn's bashed in head to cry over as he listens, which is pretty messed up, you know, but it just shows how hard he's really trying to break Daryl, and if he listens to Daryl cry, then he knows that it's working. The next day, he awakes Daryl and brings him to Negan. Negan explains to Daryl the story of his past with Dwight. Sherry's sister Tina needed expensive medicine, so Dwight stole all of it and ran off with them. Tina ended up dying in the stupidest way possible, might I add, so Dwight and Sherry ended up going back to the sanctuary. Dwight begged for forgiveness and to not kill Sherry, and Sherry begged as well, saying that if Negan didn't kill Dwight either, she would marry him and become his wife. Negan says that things are totally cool between him and Dwight, but there's obviously some tension coming off of Dwight in that moment, which I obviously don't blame. Daryl gets to make his choice again and chooses to get thrown back in the cell. Here he tells Dwight that he understands why he took Negan's deal. He was thinking of someone else. That is the same reason why he can't take the deal. Norman Reedus has been quoted saying that Daryl sees Negan's men as a group of giant brainwashed Boy Scouts at this point. Everyone just sort of falls in line like sheep. At the end of the episode, Dwight actually ends up seeing his friend that he shot in the back as a walker on the outer wall. We see once again the 3 choices that Daryl was given. Dwight being the henchman, Daryl in his current state being the prisoner, and Gordon there on the zombie wall being the 3rd and final option. Walker Gordon can actually be used as a metaphor for the inability to escape the sanctuary even in death. Be sure to check out my other Walking Dead Season 7 recap and review videos. Feel free to subscribe for more content and look forward to more in-depth theories, breakdowns, and predictions involving Negan, Daryl, Dwight, and the following episodes to come. I'd appreciate a like on the video heavily if you've enjoyed anything I've said today, but that's pretty much it, guys. So I thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.